getting darker and darker, and there's just no way right now for these drivers to know exactly what's going to happen.
These guys are going to have to be really, really careful and tiptoe around the track until it's either stopped.
And not even 10 minutes into this race, and I feel like we've got enough strategy going on for a whole event, but still a long, long way to go.
There's Yellowstone, there's Yosemite, but for racing fans and for Grid Life's Elkhart Classic, the destination is Road America, the National Park of Speed. Three wide in the front of the field here. Look at Emil Tab up the inside for the race lead as we head down to the first corner.
And these guys have no idea what they're coming into. Look at this field. They're 2 wide, 3 wide, a couple places slipping.
Side by side for the race lead, 54, 48 through 3 and 4, working lap number 60, 110 laps to go. Yusuf Ghali, power move to the bottom of the racetrack, making the short way work. They're going to touch down the hill. This will be a great run for Fuller here.
Yes, if we go right off the track in the final quarter, that'll have Fuller get a massive.
Here he comes.
Is he able to work?
Oh, big block here by Sanfilippo. Into the grass goes Ben Fuller for turn 1, and Sanfilippo hangs on. He's loose. No! And he crashes hard in the exit of turn number 2. Don't try here, boys. They're going to do it. Gritsko backside. They touch. They're going to crash. Gritsko going to slam the attenuator hard into the wall, and Jared Testa hits him as well. And big damage on these cars. That's huge.
Number 4, people are struggling for grip, going out of every single lane, trying to then run. It's getting really insane.
Powered by AWS for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, powered by Pirelli at the Indianapolis 8-hour. We are 7 hours and 18 minutes into this 8-hour event.
John Miller way deep on the brakes to the inside of turn number 1 and 2. The spin, the 3-car gets turned around in front of Paul.
James Howden looking for a place to go, but he's got Austin Cobb to the inside. A bit of a gap behind. I think that's about 15th or 16th spot as they come out of turn 3. Big slide for them.
Getting a run. He's got it. Going to be a drag race line. Final corner. Checkered flag waving. Here they come. At Virginia National Raceway. To the line. Thompson, Darling, door to door. Banging doors. Fender to fender. I can't believe what we just saw.
For round number 6 of SCRS Ferrari Challenge, the Ferraris take on the mountain here in Mount Panorama, Australia. Welcome to Sim TV. My name's Kyle Heyer, joined by Eric Mickey this evening. First of all, we're taking on one of the most treacherous racetracks in all of motorsport. And second of all, we're getting towards the tail end of the season here, Eric, as we kind of are kind of in the meat of it right now. 15 drivers for the Am Cup race tonight. Lots of racing about to happen, 3 15-minute races. But tackling Bathurst, this is a wild one. It always has been. It always will be. But lots to consider, lots to talk about before we take on the mountain tonight.
Yeah, you mentioned we're only got about 16 cars out here, which is fairly short from what we've seen all season, and that could be a blessing for this field of drivers, as less cars is going to mean less opportunities for some carnage like we saw at Watkins Glen a few weeks ago. So I'm sure from the driver's perspective, they're probably more enjoying this shorter field for that we expect to see throughout the night. But nonetheless, the racing should be pretty on edge right now, as we see the times throughout practice have been really close, and drivers are just now completing their first qualifying laps with just over 5 minutes remaining in the qualifying session.
Qualifying already is underway, as you mentioned. 5 minutes and 18 seconds left. We're looking at Andrew Mickey in the number 86 Bombshell Racing Team car. At the top of the standings, Ryan Plord, who's had recent success in the Am Cup race. Murphy Nichols in the 55. He's been looking for luck all season long. The pace has not been the problem for this young man. It's just been consistency and staying up towards the front. So hoping that he can get a nice clean run in here tonight. And the one thing about Bathurst we always talk about, track position. It's hard to pass here, especially anywhere on the mountain. You kind of have to get everything done elsewhere on the racetrack. So if Murphy can qualify up front, I think he'll stand a really good shot of finishing up front, as long as he doesn't make any of his own mistakes, which has been sort of his weakness so far this season. Others to keep an eye on: Brian Sohn qualified very well so far tonight in third with a 206.775. Liam Sheen in the 002, that purple and teal car, fourth, and he's been rock solid here in the Am Cup series the last couple weeks as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Plord just less than half a second ahead of Murphy Nichols for the top spot right now, with Mo Islam behind at less than a second. In practice, we had the top 8 cars within just about 7/10 of a second. So I expect that these gaps could close up by the time this session is over. But it is pretty difficult to go out on a track like Bathurst and get the perfect lap in the fast lap in the way that you need to. So really a lot can go down in these last couple of laps as drivers are trying to complete all 4 of their potential timed laps here in this qualifying session.
There's Drew Lidke in the number 121 Ferrari as he heads down into the chase. And the curbing here is something he really should stay off of. He's going to get the right sides up on the corner exit curbs. and now head towards the final corner on the racetrack. And Lidke has been rock solid for the entire history of the SCRS Ferrari Challenge in the AM categories. He sweeps through the last corner, throttles it back up across the line at 206.639. That will be only good enough for 6th. He'll get another attempt out there as he continues. But Eric Brown jumps to 3rd place. How about that lap for him at 206.270?
Very good run for Brown. He's been consistent as far as being able to kind of stay under the radar, just kind of completing laps, completing races, getting some fairly decent results. But this is the first time we've seen him show his speed up towards the front of the field on pure pace. So we'll see how that plays out the rest of the night. I'm looking back at 4th place with Andrew Mickey. He's been super excited about this race since the schedule was announced. He was one of the quickest on the Tuesday night practice session. He's been really excited about what he could potentially get done here tonight for himself with his pace and his experience around this track. This is one of those tracks that, for whatever reason, he just takes to, and he is really good at. And if he's going to shine anywhere, it's going to be at a track like Bathurst tonight.
Well, let's have a look here at Mount Panorama Circuit from Bathurst, Australia. 6.2 kilometers around. It all starts in the blue sector, Hell Corner. The first turn you're going to make, it's a 90-degree left-hander. You head down the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend. You're going to slam on the binders, stay to the right side of the racetrack through turn number 2, and then head through the cutting up the top of the mountain by McPhillamy Park, where you enter sector number 2, and then the downhill begins. You're going to head down, right, left into the Dipper, and then continue down the hill towards Forest Elbow before entering the Conrad Straight. Full speed ahead, 170 plus miles an hour into the Chase. Hard left-hand corner, jump the curb there, then back to the right to Murray's Corner to finish out the remainder of the lap. So 6.2 kilometers takes these drivers just over 2 minutes. Again, this racetrack is stereotypically a little bit tricky to pass at, but always very close racing, Eric, as we found in the past. You get a lot of nose to tail and a lot of gutsy moves, especially heading into the Chase.
Yeah, I think that's definitely probably the hardest braking zone on the circuit, so that's going to be an opportunity to make passes, as well as going down into, I forget the name of the first straightaway, but after Hell Corner, going into turn 2 where you start to climb the mountain, that is going to be your secondary prime passing opportunity. But we have seen some of these drivers take some pretty aggressive moves up on the top of the mountain, and I think anyone who can make a move across the top of the mountain is going to be sitting pretty if they have that much control to make something like that happen. So I think we'll see a couple of attempts at that, and hopefully they don't end in tears.
In the final couple moments here in qualifying for our AM Cup race, Nicholas Morelli jumps into 2nd, bumps Murphy Nichols down to 3rd. That might have been a blessing in disguise. We'll put Murphy on the inside of the 2nd row instead of the outside of the 1st row. Mo Islam comes through in 5th. Looking down the rest of the order, Anthony Montello here again in the Lazy Rocket car. 12th in qualifying, Darren Heath, the only driver that did not lay down a time here. He will start at the tail of the field here this evening. We've got 2 Pro-Am races coming up just after this. We'll see a field size probably well over 20 drivers. We'll race twice for 15 minutes, but we still have to race our 15-minute AM qualifier right after the conclusion of qualifying, which is basically right now. We talked about, or we showed you in the intro, that this racetrack was constructed in 1938, and technically, Eric, this is a street course, although it doesn't really resemble what you'd consider a street course to be.
It absolutely does not, and I don't think anyone really drives it like it is a street course. It's very difficult, but we should see the grip as we get later into the night continue to pick up as we go. Ryan Plord will be your Redenzo Pole Award winner for this AM Cup feature.
Yeah, so Ryan Plord with the Redenzo Pole Award. Andrew Mickey will roll off on the outside of that 1st row in the number 86 Bombshell Racing Team car. Nicholas Morelli in 3rd in the 095, and Murphy Nichols gets bumped back to 4th at the tail end of qualifying.
5th place is going to be Eric Brown, and 6th place Mo Islam, followed by longtime AM Cup competitor Drew Lidke in 7th and Dominic Dornenberg in 8th.
And moving on back to row number 5 in 9th place, we're going to find Brian Chabelski in the number 12 car, and Brian Sohn in the 03. He will start 10th.
The machine will take off from the 11th position inside Anthony Montello, who will take off from 12th.
Back to 13th place, Steve Bunting in the number 83. Then Sean Foes starts 14th in the number 10. Field about to roll off. There's one more driver to take note of. That's Darren Heath. He will roll off in 15th. Harry Grindell, wrong session for him. He'll join us in the Pro-Am races a little bit later here this evening. So field rolling off here, 15 minutes on the timing screen, and that's what the duration of the race we're about to run. About 8 laps worth of racing here. As Liam Sheen in that brightly colored number 002 is kind of mired deeper in the pack, and he had a really strong run the last couple of weeks. I think he's looking for a bit of redemption here after not an amazing qualifying effort. We're 15 cars deep for our AM Cup race. Of course, we'll have 2 more races this evening. Follow along live on live timing and scoring on our website, simtvbroadcasting.com/timing. That link is in the description if you'd like to follow along with your favorites at home. Field working our way towards turn number 23. Murray corner, look at the front 2 as they come through the final corner, mirror to mirror. Green flag flies, and we're racing at Mount Panorama. Bathurst, Australia. Ferrari challenge is underway.
Andrew, I think, was really trying to get a really good start to this race, as he knows this is an opportunity for him, being one of his better racetracks. And I should note that there will be a wreck off of turn 1.
That's Drew Lidke up and over, getting turned into the tire barrier, and Drew Lidke got contact from Eric Brown. They sort of hooked together and launched Lidke up airborne for the race lead. Here comes Morelli on driver's left into Griffin's Bend.
I was just attempting to say, as they go side by side to turn 2, who's going to give up? This is Morelli's corner, but there's a car spun behind.
Oh, man. That's Murphy Nichols right in front of the field. Liam Sheen going to be in it. A couple more drivers packing in there. That's trouble big time for the lead. Caution flag is flying. We'll have a full course yellow here as we're going to try that again. What a mess in the first start of this race tonight.
I tried twice to get it out that we did make a note in the drivers' meeting that there will be yellow flags with a if there is a track blockage incident on the first lap, as we had back at Watkins Glen, and realized that having a yellow would have really made the day much better for most people. So that was implemented this week, knowing that the mountain could be really narrow and have a stack up like we just saw, and this is just an opportunity we're going to take in order to make sure that all these drivers have a real opportunity to get a decent race in and not get caught out or lose all the time that they can never gain by having to check up and wait for the track to clear. So this was a decision that all drivers should have been aware of was a possibility, as it was mentioned. So a little surprised that we saw it right away in this race with such a small field, but it's going to pay off, I think, for the back half of this field, where they're going to have an opportunity to clean their cars and still be in this race.
Murphy Nichols, I think, just had cold tires, came out of Griffin's Bend and just throttled up, and the car just started snapping left and right, couldn't hang on to it. A couple of those drivers reset to the pits to get out of the way, and so with the caution out, this will slow us to our first full course yellow of the night. And this is going to shorten the green flag racing that we're going to see, Eric. So that's going to increase the intensity for the final couple minutes. I'm going to predict a green flag with about 5 or 4 minutes to go when this is all said and done. So this is going to create some intensity, and Ryan Plord and Nicholas Morelli, I think, are in a great spot out front with the track position.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to change the way that these drivers approach the rest of this race. Is this caution laps are going to take some time. So definitely less green flag racing time, but this is going to keep the field close together and give them all a shot to race for something moving towards the end of this race.
So our caution is out here from Mount Panorama in Bathurst, Australia for our 6th round of SCRS Ferrari Challenge. Ryan Plord, Morelli out front. They were running side by side. Then the caution behind them for the collision involving Murphy Nichols, Liam Sheen, a couple other drivers behind them as well receiving some of the damage. Eric Brown and one of the drivers that I think benefits greatly from this is Drew Lidke, who has not yet come down to fix that car after the flip that he had at the exit of Hell Corner to start the race, but he'll be able to come down, get that car repaired, get back out there on the racetrack, and hopefully pick up a couple spots.
Yeah, so a rare break in the action for SCRS. I believe this is probably the first yellow we've ever thrown.
At least in recent memory. I don't think we've thrown them before. We've been around for what, 3 years now, and I don't remember. We might have done it once before, maybe by accident. I don't really remember. But cars heading up the hill. Going to be a few minutes here So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break. We'll come back for the restart here, or at least get a little bit farther along in the yellow flag before we come back. We'll be back in a moment here for SCRS Ferrari Challenge.
In the heart of Virginia, there's a stretch of pavement that has ingrained itself in American racing history. Built in 1957 with just a bulldozer and a plot of land, Virginia International Raceway has become an icon. Over the years since its reopening in 2000, it has hosted IMSA, the American Le Mans Series, NASCAR, SCCA, and Champ Car races. Legends have raced there, including Roger Penske, Mark Donohue, Richard Petty, Hurley Haywood, Dan Gurney, and more. Between turns 11 and 12 stood a defying feature, an old oak tree. This tree stood untouched, shading the south end of the course for decades. For some, oak tree became a symbol of VIR and a reminder of how road courses used to be built. They used to be built with the lay of the land, following each contour and moving around obstacles, not through them. Earth may have been moved, but not tarnished. Oak tree was a lasting memory of when tracks were not just built, they came to be, like the tree. Although oak tree no longer stands, nor does hog pen turn 17, the corners both still bear the name of what used to exist. And the track stays unchanged the way it was meant to be, with the lay of the land, for the land. Maybe that's why Paul Newman called it heaven on earth.
For those who competed decades ago, speeding down highways, through towns, country roads. For those who sat watching on the sides of the street, who found solace in chaos and thunderous speed. Even for those who grew up without the sights and the sounds, and live without race cars shaking the ground. Who don't understand why racing appeals to our fascination, wonder, and the way that we feel. A purpose-built place to camp and spend time with friends, watching racing together until darkness descends. Though no longer do the streets rumble and roar, there's a place just for this, a park to explore.
A road racing circuit before the assault. The 4 twisting, beautiful miles at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. For 6 brutal, ear-shattering hours, its serenity will be violated by the raw power of screaming racing machines. It's the famed end-of-season endurance classic, the Road America 500. The specially constructed race circuit at Elkhart Lake at normal speed is a scenic 4-mile drive through fall-tinted Wisconsin countryside.
Hidden by forests near Elkhart Lake, not a path nor a trail, but a road meant to race. In a town too quiet, the refuge we seek, Road America, the racetrack, the national park of speed.
If there's one place that defines American motorsport, it's here. The sandy beaches a few miles away held races for decades. It's where NASCAR was born. They need a place to race, a super speedway so fast and so huge that the cars could run flat out all the way around. So they built it. 1 million square yards of earth was moved to create the banking. The void left behind became Lake Lloyd. And 2.5 miles of asphalt created more than just one of the most beautiful racetracks in the world. It built the foundation of NASCAR. In the decades that followed, Daytona became hallowed ground. The trophies here mean more than any other. Win the 500, put your name on the Harley J. Earl Trophy. Win the 24 hours and strap a Rolex on your wrist. The banks are not always kind. They're not always fair. And while Daytona wins bring a statistical highlight to any career, it's the losses that make it seem pointless. But for every untimely ending, there is a triumphant healing. For every emotional victory, a mind-numbing realization.
Tom O'Gorman fighting for every inch that he can possibly get. Won the last TCR race of last year, Road Atlanta, starting things off in exactly the right style. It is victory for Tom O'Gorman and the LA Automobile team.
I won at Daytona. I earned a trophy at the World Center of Racing. The checkered flag waved for me. For me, it was not the end of a career. While it may be a highlight, it is only the beginning. It's just the best ever.
Back live for SCRS Ferrari Challenge here on SimTV. My name's Kyle Heyer here with Eric Mickey tonight. A yellow flag in the early stages to prevent a massive pileup, and the length of the caution flags and the pace car driver being Danica Patrick has sort of put us in a bad spot here. We may or may not get one lap of racing remaining. When we come back to the stripe, we're going to have maybe 5 seconds, so we could get a checkered, we could get a white. All going to depend here when we come back around.
Yeah, not really sure how that's going to play out when we come around to the start-finish line the next time. This was just some different information we had about the way that iRacing's yellow flags were working these days, and looks like
we're not working these days.
Yeah, we look like we may end up not really having much of a race here at all, so we'll kind of have to deal with that after the fact if that is the case. But we'll see what happens as they're just now going through the mountain. It's going to be close as to whether or not they're going to get the... I would assume that they would get the white when they get back around regardless, and we'd have one lap of racing at least.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the situation will be. We're going to find out here in a short moment as they head down the hill into the dipper portion of the racetrack. Coming over the crest here at speed, this is generally pretty concerning on lap number 1, but we didn't get here under speed at lap number 1, so the drivers will have to learn this on the fly if they didn't do a whole lot of practice, and we might make it to this point, but they're really going to run basically, if we get a lap, they're running a lap and a quarter under green flag conditions, so not a lot of time to get used to the conditions or the car if you didn't do a lot of practice beforehand. Again, this is not all the racing we're going to do tonight. We've still got 2 15-minute Pro-Am races coming up right after the conclusion of this race. So stay tuned for more on SimTV coming up in just a little bit. If you're new to SimTV, don't know what's happening coming up this weekend, tomorrow night we are off, so enjoy your Friday nights. Saturday morning we'll be taking Formula I right here at Mount Panorama. So we'll get to see Formula 3 and Formula 1 cars take on the mountain on Saturday. And then on Saturday evening, Outsiders Racing League will continue their championship. And then on Sunday afternoon, Assetto Corsa Competiciones SRO Esports Championship that we produce here at SimTV. They will also be heading to Bathurst and Mount Panorama. So a busy week in Australia here. We got 3 series all going to the same place within a couple days. Finian and I used to theorize that was a sign that we were supposed to be doing all those series, was that they were all managed to line up to go to the same place in 1 week. But as the field gets ready to go restarting, 48 seconds left in this race. We could get a checkered. Well, we didn't get a white, so we have to get a white flag at some point. So we should get one to go.
That was the point I was trying to make. I think you have to take the white in order for a checkered to be thrown, so we should get 1 lap of racing here.
I think the unique situation is that the time could expire and then we get the white, just because the caution laps are run at a slower pace than a normal green flag lap, which is what the white flag is based off of, and we have not been given a white flag warning just yet. The pace car is going to peel off with 15 seconds to go. I think we're going to get a restart here. Ryan Plord, Morelli, Mickey, Mo Islam, Dominic Dornenberg, who carved his way through the accident, up in the top 5. Green flag back in the air, and this will also be our white flag. In theory, who knows? There it is, white flag. Through turn number 1, Ryan Plord trying to hang on to his pole position. Running down the mountain straight behind him, Mo Islam and Dominic Dornenberg, teammates nose to tail, with Anthony Montello chasing him back in the number 24. He started in 12th, gathered 6 spots by carving his way through the wreck, now looking for a top 5 with the teammates in front.
Side by side as they enter the corner, but they make room. Dornenberg goes through, but misses the corner a bit, and Islam has an opportunity to come back at him, but as teammates, I don't expect they'll try to go too wide for this next section of the track. We'll see how they get through this section of the track for the first time at speed.
A little bit congested behind Dornenberg and Islam right now. You see Anthony Montella, Brian Sohn, Brian Chabelski also joining the club. Eric Brown in number 56, who was about to start second. He ended up starting 5th. He's dropped down to 10th, so going the wrong direction here as we sweep through Skyline. And Ryan Plord leads the way as they head down the hill and into the Dipper.
Yep, maybe the easiest win. Plord is on his way to collecting.
Trouble for Mo Islam. He's gone around. Brian Chabelski creeps on through, but Islam had a bit of a moment. You see the damage on that car, and this was at the top of Skyline. Here's a look at it. Was there help from his teammate? No, just the rear end steps out, spins around, and he's going to get hit by Brian Sohn. They get together, and he slams into the concrete. Up front, though, Ryan Plord, I'd say outlasts them all, but he didn't have to last very long in general. He managed to just start on pole and hang out front. Morelli unable to do anything about him on the restart. Coming through the chase. And for Ryan Plord, this will be 1 and done. 1 lap under green. And now, Murray's corner, and he'll wrap up a win here in the AM Cup race.
Not at all the race the entire field wanted to see, but definitely what Plord wants to see is that checkered flag as he takes home another win in the Ferrari Challenge.
Morelli will come across in second, then Andrew Mickey. Sean Foes is turned around in the last couple corners. Drew Lidke is also off. Let's see what happened to these guys as they came down in. Wow, Foes has already turned around. Drew Lidke going again for roll. He can't keep the tires on the ground tonight. But across the line, they will finally make it. That was a disastrous race for Lidke. Just could not keep the car on the wheels. But Ryan Plord will win our probably agreeably messy AM Cup race. We've got 2 Pro-Am races coming up here in just a moment, but here's a look at the results for the finishers. Anthony Montello did scrape out a top 5 after starting in the last 2 rows, so that was a good climb for him. Dominic Dornenberg all the way up to 4th place. Good run for him. Of course, Liam Sheen, Mo Islam, Murphy Nichols, and that's a heartbreak for Murphy Nichols as well, the driver that looped to create that caution flag situation. The bad luck continues for the number 55. We'll see them fire back up here for our Pro-Am race here in just a few minutes. So take a break, go grab a drink of water. We'll be back in about 10 to 15 minutes. Hang tight. Back live at SCRS Ferrari Challenge, round number 6, Pro-Am racing from Mount Panorama, Bathurst, Australia. Cars underway, qualifying for the first of 2 15-minute races. You'll notice on the screen a brand new Project 2 paint, brand new Project 2 driver, Sarah Tessum, joining us here tonight out of the Midwest in a nice-looking Project 2 number 72 car. Again, entered in, looks like, the Pro category tonight. Down the hill towards Forest Elbow, and Eric, another new paint scheme that we're going to see in the field is Kyle Lamb. He's again from Australia, New Zealand, and look at that nice blue livery he's got on board tonight. Kind of a special Aussie paint scheme as he heads down towards Murray's Corner. Really nice looking paint schemes on these cars, as always, as Kyle comes through the final corner.
Yeah, and if you remember when we were back racing in Canada, even the Canadian Project 2 cars and all the other Canadian drivers had special paint schemes on there just for that little bit of extra home country advantage. So I think it's pretty cool the way that a lot of these drivers are embracing the globe-trotting nature of the Ferrari Challenge Series. So I think that's a really neat thing to see, and I'm excited to see Sarah Tessum out here making her SCRS debut.
So Sarah Tessum out on the racetrack making her SCRS debut. There's Zach Buchanan. He's currently the quickest driver on the timing and scoring screen. So is Mitch Welker. He goes second, quick with a 2:04.887. Definitely the fastest laps we've seen tonight. Carter Kundinger right now, third, 2:04.901. Kurt Crum with a 2:05.180 as he heads up the hill for another go.
Yeah, Kurt's not really had the performance this season that I think we're accustomed to seeing him have. I know as far as other bombshell racing duties go, there's a lot of other focus going on, so I don't know that this has been his number one priority, but I'm sure he never likes to go halfway on any of his endeavors, so I'm sure he's trying to work out and figure out how to have a better second half of this season than he's had in the first half. But I think we should point out James Walker is not looking like he's going to be here tonight. That's huge because he's already missed 2 races, and drop weeks are going into effect to be reflected in the championships standings after tonight's event. So not only will he'll be dropping the 2 races that he already missed this season, but he's going to be taking a 0 as a points total for one of his 7 races that will count towards his championship. So, and when we talk about the struggles that Project 2 had last week, as we saw them have just the worst race for basically the entire team back at Zolder last week, they come into tonight without James Walker in the way, and they have an opportunity to strike big in the championship.
They certainly do. As qualifying continues, Colin Daner, the Calvert Dynamics Ferrari 488, heading up the hill on Mountain Straight. And got some nice looking logos on the left and right front of that car as he rockets down the straightaway towards Griffin's Bend. Buchanan remains at the top of the order. Carter Kundinger jumps ahead of Mitch Welker. So Project 2 first and third, so they'll line up nose to tail in the inside row. Chris Hudson jumps up into 4th place ahead of Kurt Crum. Jake Johansson runs in 6th. In the Grip Hacks engineering car, Bryce Calusa goes to 7th. We've seen him jump up into the pro category as of late. He's been rock solid. Lidkey 8th. We had a miserable AM race earlier tonight, and I think he'd be glad to just get a top 10 or top 15 at this point. Andrew Mickey, that is, up to 9th place. Mo Islam in 10th. Sean Unterkuffler, one of the Project 2 cars, the yellow livery on board this car, currently 12th in the order.
You see Andrew Mickey being one of the star AM drivers this week at Bathurst. Obviously, with the way that the first race went, with having only 1 lap of racing, did not get the opportunity to show the performance that he was expecting to be able to show. So I know he's working extra hard in this session to get a good starting spot, and he's going to do everything he can to take home a really good finish in race 1. We should note that due to the way that the caution played out in the first race in the AM Cup feature, there will not be one for pretty much any reason in this one, as we don't want to lose another entire race. So these drivers are going to have to bear the responsibility of getting through the opening lap or 2 as cleanly as possible and face the consequences if they cannot. And this is 27 cars we're going to be seeing take to the track. And we just had the issues we had in the first race with only 15. So we'll see what they've learned from knowing how the AM Cup feature happened, and make sure that they can get through the opening lap without major issues that kind of ruin the race for half the field. So at this point, it's all on them to make it all work and make it all happen, and they're doing that now with just about a minute and a half remaining in this qualifying session.
Ryan Plord was the winner from the Am Cup race earlier tonight. He has not yet laid down a time for qualifying for the Pro-Am race as we head up the hill with him now. Right on board up at the top of McPhillamy Park here in just a moment. We'll keep an eye on his sector times, real tight to the walls on the right and the left. Come over the crest here, the track falls away from you, then the car compresses, another left-hand turn, wall on the right, miss the curb there, swing out, nip the curb on the right, then get down to the one on the left, don't quite get to the fence. Now under the bridge and down the hill, Ryan Plord over the curb on the left, then between the walls and aim for the apex. The left front tire is going to get carried over that crest, then down the hill, right, and left again through Forest Elbow. Then on the Conrad straight, and that's where you're getting real fired up. Plord pretty cautious into Forest Elbow. It's all about getting that run onto the straightaway. And with the sun setting here, the headlights are on, and Ryan Plord with 44 seconds left in qualifying, trying to make sure that he gets somewhere on the timing screen. And as long as he doesn't make a major mistake here in the last sector, he should be fine.
There was talk that some of these drivers were concerned about how late in the day that these races were going to be taking place, a little bit afraid of the sun going down too early for particularly that second Pro-Am race that we're going to have following this one. We shouldn't get full darkness, but it's definitely going to be darker than we've seen probably all season here in tonight in Bathurst.
I have to laugh about my selection of the chase camera. There's a camera here called Veep Chase, and that's the one that is here, and it also happens to be right next to the one called Chase and Far Chase, which are the car cameras, so I'll probably make that mistake at least one more time tonight. Plord did not record a lap time. At least not one that counted, so he will not get to start any higher than 26th position. Murphy Nichols will start at the tail of the field. 15 minutes goes up on the scoring screen as we've got 27 drivers lined up to go here in SCRS Ferrari Challenge round number 6 from Mount Panorama at Bathurst, Australia. Zach Buchanan is the Renzo Pole Award winner for this race, right alongside Carter Kundinger in the 0-2. We'll roll this at the bottom of the screen and let that continue to scroll as we kind of work our way down the order. We already mentioned a couple of our starting drivers. Bryce Calusa did jump to third ahead of Mitch Welker, so displaces the 77 out of line with his teammate. Then row number 3, of course, Chris Hudson in the 43 car. Kurt Crum in the 87 will line up on the outside of that third row. Jake Johansson, Sean Unterkuffler, then Drew Lidke and Nicholas Morelli rounding out the rest of the top 10.
Yeah, very short pace lap here, so we won't go through the entirety of this field and how they grid. We have 2 drivers. Plord did not get a lap in. Murphy Nichols chose not to make a lap after feeling a little bit discouraged after being involved in the wreck in the Am Cup feature. So those 2 will start from the back and see what they can do to come from the rear of the field. That 18th spot is going to be where they're aiming for, because that's going to put them on the pole for race 2. And I should note that Murphy Nichols did, after last week, clear the IPR rule, so he will not have to take an EOL if he gets an advantage from the invert. And that's been something he's been working on since the first couple of weeks of the season, finally able to get clear of that potential penalty. But as we saw tonight, he's already made one mistake and feeling pretty down about it there. As we see, there's another new paint scheme with Bryce Calusa there in the number 5. Very different from what we've seen him in.
Yeah, definitely different. Some camo and some orange on the side of that car as we sweep through the penultimate corner here at Bathurst, Australia. And the field doubling up. 15 minutes goes on the board. And we'll have one more race with 18 inverted. So you're watching the front and you're watching 18th here in SCRS Ferrari Challenge. You're watching Sim TV, the 6th round of the SCRS Ferrari Challenge here at Bathurst. Coming through the final corner, green flag in the air, and we're racing at Bathurst. Down to Hell Corner, Buchanan pulls out front. Calusa to second place as they charge to turn 1.
We saw in the Am Cup feature, very difficult for that second place driver to have any kind of a decent start to these races. Buchanan able to really get a good launch off there. As they come off Hell Corner, they start to spread out and fan out down the straightaway. They go up this hill and then kind of back down on the other end of it before they start the braking zone for turn 2 and heading up the mountain.
Look at Kurt Crum out to driver's left. On the outside looks like Bryce Calusa having a look at, or excuse me, vice versa. It'll be Kundinger looking at Bryce Calusa for second place. Can't quite complete that pass. Still double file as they head up the hill. Contact in front of the field. There's going to be car in the fence. Unterkuffler hangs on and saves everybody as we head through the tightest portion of the racetrack, but it's loose and sliding as they head up the hill. He's still sideways.
Yeah, it was... my heart kind of jumped up in my throat, just hoping not to see another big calamity up on the mountain. Thankfully, that did not happen. Looks like, for the most part, drivers are getting through relatively cleanly, and we're not going to have any issues as far as huge pileups on lap 1 here. But this is really treacherous. You have this many cars in such a small gaps between each other, and Snyder cuts the grass there coming down the hill. See if he gets a penalty. He's going to have to try to serve down the after Forest elbow here in a second.
I don't think you can serve it here. You're going to have to wait till you get onto the straightaway on Conrad to really give that up. As we sweep on through Forest Elbow, look at Unterkuffler. He saved pretty much the entire field. That could have and should have and probably would have been a wreck, but he managed to hang on to it. Look at Isaac Snyder now. He's actually not had to give up a whole lot of time, so he kind of got away with that one. Kyle Lamb, the Aussie, not really performing as well as I might have thought on his home track. Look in front of him. That's Drew Lidke dipping a wheel off in the grass on the way down to the chase. Hangs on to it.
Sun going down. It'd be really interesting to note, like we had a couple drivers note last week, the kind of where the sun is hitting them. So you wonder if the sun is Sarah Tessam is off track.
Yeah, and so is Harry Grindell for that matter. I think they tangled together. Here's a look at it as they headed towards the chase. The 72 is the bright orange car, then Harry Grindell in the 70. They're going to tangle on corner. Oh no, actually it was another driver behind that got into them. So I didn't see exactly what car number that was.
AOD car, thinking Dornenberg?
It was Dornenberg in the 913, so just missed the braking point and sends off Harry Grindell and Sarah Tessam into the gravel trap at the end of the Conrad Straight.
I'm not going to bring up the comment from Harry in the in-race chat there, but a very comedic take on what happened there.
Oh boy.
We see Buchanan trying to run away from Calusa in second and Carter Kundinger back in third. We have a battle with Mo Islam with
Andrew Mickey in the 86 as they head up the hill, and Eric Brown following in the purple car. He has a great view out the windshield. We're right on board. So much dynamicism with these cars. All the air that you get coming up the hill and all the compression that you get going down the hill. Oh, big slide up onto the curbing at the exit of Skyline and then down the hill. Nice tight line to the right-hand side of the racetrack. Now he'll have to do the same here. The dipper carries the left front nicely. It still remains in 16th. Mo Islam feeling the pressure perhaps and not able to close on Andrew Mickey that time through. Moving up into third place, Kundinger has Mitch Welker behind him. And the slipstream is very effective here at this particular track on this straightaway.
Especially with these GT3 cars, there seems to be a lot of slipstream with the GT3 machinery in iRacing. But maybe a little bit more than you would necessarily see in the real world. But when you're at a place like Bathurst with these long straightaways heading up to and down from the mountain, you definitely want that draft to be that effective for you, as that leads you into the two braking zones that are probably the easiest places to make passes.
Some battles going on here. 17th place, Brian Stone, Dominic Dornenberg. We saw Mitch Welker close on Carter Kundinger in the braking zone heading into the chase. He was not able to get up alongside, but did close the gap on entry, lost some of that time on corner exit. We'll have to track him back down again. Zach Buchanan looking very safe out front right now by 1.4 seconds. And Zach Buchanan's history here in SCRS Ferrari Challenge doesn't go back that long, entered kind of mid last season. Immediately found success, but getting actual race wins seemed to be eluding him for a little while, but he's managed to stitch a couple of them together, and right now leading Bryce Calusa was 0.3 better last time by. Here's a battle for 11th, Kyle Lamb and Isaac Snyder.
They're trying to hold off Lamb from behind. This is, you know, I would compare this to the Nürburgring, where when you get to the mountain, if you can hit your corners and hit all your marks the way that you need to, it's probably the most rewarding racetrack to run when you get through this mountain section and you know that you're right on the limit and getting the most out of it. As we see look like Lamb there coming really close to the wall. When you can pull that off and you hit the line exactly right up through the mountain, it's very rewarding, just like you would get at say like the Nürburgring, with how big that track is and complicated some of those sections can get, that it's just very rewarding when you can drive around this place. It's a really fun place to just drive around, let alone race. And that's where you get the popularity of Bathurst.
I have had more success as a driver at the Nürburgring Nordschleife than I have at Bathurst. I find this track actually to be more challenging to extract speed out of. The Nürburgring is a unique challenge in its own right, but there's something about going up the hill, especially in a car that has a little bit more horsepower or a little bit less downforce than these cars. It is very hard to tackle the mountain at any sort of pace. I find myself being a couple seconds off pace here, and I don't really consider myself a bad sim racer by any stretch. So this place is extraordinarily challenging, and a big jump over the curb for Kundinger. Mitch Welker putting that pressure on for third place.
Yeah, we do, in the major series, we run at Bathurst, or have for the last couple of years, in the supercars. And to sit in one of those supercars and race 3 hours nonstop around this track, you know, like you wouldn't, it's a workout, even in a sim race. I can't imagine what it would be like in the real world, but very challenging, one of the most challenging things you can do, to be honest.
Into the braking zone for turn number 2. Buchanan leads now by 1.5 seconds. That time Kalusa had closed in slightly in terms of getting up to Buchanan's pace. He's not quite there, was off by only a couple hundredths that time. In the background you see Chris Hudson and Kurt Crum going at it. Mo Islam, Andrew Mickey side by side into Griffin's Bend with Eric Brown watching from behind. He wants a piece of Mickey as they head through turn 2.
Yeah, Andrew Mickey's fallen to 15th. I'm not really sure what happened early in the race. I thought he started well up above that position. So not having the performance that he wants, but at the same time, he is sitting pretty to start towards the front for race 2 with the invert. That could really go his way with the pace that he has been able to show. So I think that's maybe potentially also on his mind, that as much as he wants to perform, he's also setting himself up here for a good race 2 if he kind of holds position, or even if he gets too much pressure and just let the car go.
Eric Brown caught the wall on the entrance to the downhill, and you see the damage on the right front of that car. It's not, I wouldn't say call it super significant, but it certainly is present. So he just nicked the wall a little bit. That probably won't hurt him as long as it didn't bend the steering. Moving back up to third place, Kundinger trying to keep Welker behind him, and so far has accomplished that as they head through the chase. And look at the speeds that we're carrying, well over 170 miles an hour for this field and these drivers. But up front, Buchanan continues to stretch the gap here as we work lap number 5 of 8.
Yeah, I think Buchanan is looking really good here to pick up a win in this first race, but as we saw last week, he did make a couple mistakes, and then he had some hardware failure that really cost him. So I think at this point, he's just hoping that everything stays together and he's able to keep all 4 tires on the asphalt and keep things headed in the right direction as he tries to bounce back in this championship with a race win here in race 1 of the Pro-Am races tonight. We almost have 3 wide going into turn 1 between Brown, Dornenberg, and Brian Sohn, I believe.
They tried. They ended up having a single file out as they head down the mountain straight. Look at Brown now moving to the left of Brian Sohn. Sohn crowds him just a little bit, about a foot between the track edge and a foot between the 03, the Penguin RC car, battling the bright purple number 56 into turn number 2. Sohn has the inside. Brown has to run offline into the marbles. Here comes Dornenberg now side by side. Oh, lots of slicing and dicing now as they head through the cutting. Sohn clears Dornenberg and maintains that spot for now. Up the road, you see Andrew Mickey attacking Mo Islam for position. Some of the best battles on the racetrack happening deep in the field right now as they head up to the McPhillamy Park area.
Yeah, very close quarters racing for about 4 cars in and around the 16th, 17th position, just behind. Andrew Mickey's been able to break away from that pack and set his sights on Mo Islam for a 14th position possibly. But right behind him, there's just a pack of these cars just all running very tight together, just waiting for one to make a mistake. And we see Brown get a little out of sorts, but Clord is so narrow, there's nowhere for him to go to take advantage of that. I should mention, Clord also mentioned that right after the race ended, when he was on a cool-down lap for the Am Cup feature, his gas pedal broke off of his pedal setup there, and so he had to be dealing with that and trying to fix that and hope that doesn't go wrong again here tonight.
And Interesting to note that Eric Brown is in the position. As you see Dornenberg dive up the inside, Brian Sohn switches back, goes around the outside, completes that pass. But Eric Brown should defend 18th vigorously from Ryan Plord, because this is the invert position. And if he hangs on, and he will not, Plord goes through to 18th. Now Eric Brown back up the inside. This is the transfer spot for the invert to get on pole for race number 2. As here comes Shabelski now in the number 12 car sweeping to the left. He wants a party.
Yeah, it almost looked like Brown realized that he really underdrove the braking zone of that corner and then tried to make up for it midway through the braking area for that corner, and then just kind of could not hold off the outside attempt from Ryan Plord around the outside. But Plord now sitting in that 18th position. It's going to be hard pressed for him to want to go up there and pass anybody else while he's sitting in the prime pole position for race 2.
Heading up the hill through the cutting. No challenges up at the front, still 1.6 seconds. Buchanan still just eking out about a quarter of a tenth on Bryce Calusa that last time around. So just a little bit faster, but I think if Calusa can capitalize on one major mistake, he can still be there, only a 2-second gap. Watching Plord almost get the fence at the top of the hill up the road. Sohn and Dornenberg still going at it. This would be a battle for third at the invert.
Yeah, all these positions matter. It's not until you get back to 18th that everything starts to pay 1 point for every position afterwards. So all these drivers within the top 18 need to gain as much as they can in terms of their season-long championship point standings, but you're also weighing that against the advantage of having less cars ahead of you on the start of race 2. So there's always a balancing act you have to play with how hard you want to push it in race 1.
Coming to the last 2.5 minutes of racing here in our first of 2 Pro-Am races. Look at this, Dornenberg having a look at Sohn up the inside, big dive into the chase. He made a mistake last time, couldn't hang on. Now side by side through the chase. Sohn hangs on for now. Great defensive driving by the 0-3, left him a lane and still managed to hang on to the spot. Just beyond this, up for 10th place, Drew Lidke now has Isaac Snyder breathing down his neck with about 2 laps to go.
Snyder just trying to work that draft, do everything he can to get an advantage to see if he can make an attempt going into turn 2, but he's not going to be close enough to do anything with it. So now the goal is stay as close to Lidke as you can through the mountain section, and then especially on the exit of Forest Elbow, headed down Conrad Straight where you have an opportunity to make a pass. As we see Plord making a move.
Dornenberg side by side through turn number 2, and Plord is through. Made that pass complete. Dornenberg down another spot. What a drive by Plord to get that spot through. And we'll jump back up to Chris Hudson and Kurt Crum. This is a battle for a top 5.
Yeah, we've seen that turn 2 move go sour so many times here at Bathurst. See the sun really starting to dip down. Track's getting darker. The lights getting darker. Headlights are getting brighter. We'll see if that plays any role into the way that these drivers find their way around the track.
Ryan Plord, trouble for him at the top of the hill, and looks like this was a self-inflicted mistake. Got on the curbing, got wide, got into the fence. Big hit there on driver's left. Ryan Plord will not finish this race. He is still stuck on the inside of McPhillamy Park, and he will reset back to the pit lane. Dominic Dornenberg real slow as he tries to run Eric Brown back down. Our focus shifts back forward to the fight with Nicholas Morelli and Jake Johansson. And where is Zach Buchanan when that white flag is going to fly? This time through, he comes through Murray's corner, and he'll pick up white flag one more lap around Bathurst to pick up a win here in race 1 of Pro-Am.
Just got to keep it together for one final lap. I believe he's going to be able to do it, no problem. It's going to be huge for him in his comeback fight in the championship. Welker, I think, was going to hope for a little bit better than 4th place finish, but he's got Carter Cundinger ahead of him, and that's always going to be a tough fight, as we see Brian Sohn is now off back in 16th position.
I wonder if he had some help here, if this was a self-inflicted mistake. Here's a look in the braking zone up the inside of Andrew Mickey. They're going to run side by side. They just get together, and I wonder, we'll have to get a different angle on this to see if, what situation was here. Sohn, late dive on the brakes, goes up the inside and just drifts up. So that's kind of on Sohn there. I just couldn't quite keep it tucked to the apex. Now
he came from a long way back, too. A little bit surprised that he had that much ability under braking compared to Andrew. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, he didn't quite make the corner, so I think it was a little too late. I mean, he almost made it, and he probably could have done it. And he braked 10 feet sooner, but just missed it by an inch, and that will cause that situation. Now for 7th, Morelli and Johansson chasing themselves down the hill, up over the crest of McPhillamy Park to Skyline.
So hard and so scary part of the racetrack, trying to make sure you don't overcook that exit and get up on the curving and cause some loss of grip. But they head down. And here's Johansson just doing everything he can to get as close as possible right here through this corner to have a run down this Conrad straight. And it looked like Morelli got a little bit sideways on exit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to give Johansson any kind of opportunity going into the chase for him to make a pass.
Not quite enough for him, not quite enough for Mitch Welker. He's got Chris Hudson breathing down his neck as they head through the chase at 167 miles an hour. Look at Johansson and Morelli, though. They're awful close for a 7th place. The 06 car's going to have a look up the inside. Morelli defends beautifully for the race win, though. Zach Buchanan from pole to win here in race 1 in Pro-Am. He'll get it done. We'll move on back again. Morelli and Johansson separate at the line, but Mitch Welker comes across in 4th. Hudson 5th. Kurt Crum in 6th as they come across. Checkered flag for the 40, and it's a Project 2 win. And a good run for them. They have not had the luck they've necessarily wanted all season long. Let's go back a little bit deeper. Mickey and Schabelsky continuing their fight for 17th. Schabelsky closing 2 car lengths. I'm not sure it's quite going to be enough.
Yeah, look at that spin was not what Andrew needed, but he's going to put him starting in 2nd place on race 2. Schabelsky going to take 18th place in race 1 in the pole for race 2.
Brian Schabelsky will launch himself into the pole position for our 2nd race of the night. Here is a brief look at our race results. Again, Zach Buchanan gets it done. Kalusa, Kundinger, Welker, Hudson. Look at the top 6, all pro drivers. I think that tells you that this is a difficult racetrack, and the pro drivers are going to rise to the top here in this one. Of course, Colin Daner, 13th place. And Harry Grindel, Sarah Tussem, getting tangled up in that crash in the chase after a bit of a punt from Dominic Dornenberg. Ryan Plord, tail end of the field, 27th with that crash up at Skyline there. So he's out for race number 1, but they're going to reset and redo it all over again for a 2nd race here in a minute. What did we learn from race 1, Eric? Seems like track position is important. So I think the driver starting on pole, Brian Schabelsky, is in a great position.
Yeah, track position is going to be key. This could be probably the most important race to take advantage of that invert and starting up front, where you can maybe get yourself some nice clean racing room and just kind of drive away from the field. But we'll see if Andrew's going to have anything to say about Schabelsky's chances at taking home a win in race 2. But I don't think you can necessarily kind of rule out some of the faster drivers that just happen to finish towards the back half of the top 10 from being able to make their way up through too. So this should be an interesting race too, definitely.
So warm-up is underway. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be back for the restart here in just a moment. So stay put. We'll be right back.
Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. That's it's all I've ever known, racing.
What did you want to be when you grew up? So many people live a life of what if. Go to school. Go to college. Get a 9-to-5. This is how we support our dreams. With a safety net. Because we're unsure about taking a leap of faith. Because we're afraid. As we grow, we cross things off our list of dreams. We cut them down, make them realistic. Having control of things is reassuring. But for some, the rush of being out of control is what gives them life. Some say racing cars is reckless. Maybe they're right. Out of bounds isn't just cheating, it's cheating death. Football fields made up in seconds. Decisions made in instants. For the people that climb behind the wheel of these cars, they're not driving it. They become part of it. It's an extension of the body. As a child, I looked up to these people, faces hidden by helmets. The less you saw of the driver, the more believable it became that they were, in fact, just part of the machine. It's easy to forget that inside the cockpit is someone just like us, but with the mindset that fear is a motivation, not a barrier. But the reality is, race car drivers are not like us. They never cross anything off their list of dreams. They just keep writing more. Daytona.
This is the finish of the Daytona 500. Side by side.
Le Mans. Indianapolis. Monaco. Places that used to be just places, now international symbols of victory. To those that enjoy the spectacle of racing, the 2 feet of concrete and steel cables are a wall between us and them, between sitting in the grandstands and standing in victory lane. These same walls are a stark, immovable reminder that racing drivers put their lives on the line for the sake of the thrill and entertainment. Despite the risk, despite the heartbreak, despite the cost. There are some on the sidelines who are fascinated by the danger. They are fascinated by speed, fascinated by the undying desire to be just a little bit better. Their dreams erased by geography, finances, or the lack of a famous last name. There are some who once wished to be a race car driver, but aren't, because they didn't get the chance. And they thought they'd spend the rest of their lives watching their heroes on television, or from the other side of the fence. They thought it was impossible to climb into a race car, so they crossed it off their list.
About ready to get our second Pro-Am race underway here from Mount Panorama, and as you'll notice, night has almost fallen here in Bathurst, Australia. It is dark at this point. The headlights are illuminating the racetrack, and by the time it's over, it will be truly pitch black out there. The headlights already illuminating the racetrack. Eric, race 1, we saw track position matter quite a bit. I think the same will be true this time, but we're inverting the field, so we're going to put our slower drivers up front, the faster ones out back, and now they're going to have to navigate everybody in the dark, so this could be pretty chaotic if things don't go smooth and to plan.
Yeah, it will. It looks, wow, it looks really dark now.
It's dark now. As we head down to the racetrack now, the lights will come on as the field grids up. This will pretty much be in complete darkness, so you better find a racing buddy to light up the racetrack with you. You look out ahead, all that light is essentially from other competitors. If we jump to turn number 2, and again, I'm running a little bit of color correction, so it's a little bit darker on your screen watching the stream than it is in the simulator, but it is pretty darn dark, especially heading down at the top of the mountain where there is really no artificial lighting. So going to be a tricky one for any drivers that find themselves lost, especially if you knock out a headlight. So Brian Shabelski sits on pole, and the starting order is on the left-hand side of your screen. We'll let that roll on down. Again, 27 drivers. Ryan Plord will bring up the rear after his crash at the end of race number 1. 15 minutes, it's going to feel like an hour with the darkness and the challenges that a lot of these drivers are about to face.
Yeah, I should note that one driver that is in violation of the incidents per race rule is Sean Foe, so he will be taking an EOL and not starting up front as he is gridded currently. So that's one change to your starting lineup that we should see.
So now heading down towards the chase. Under pacing conditions, this will be the final time tonight they will be this slow. They're about to throttle up and get going. The LED strips glowing over the doors. I love those customizable LEDs. I kind of wish we had the Assetto Corsa Competizione system where you can pick and choose what LEDs are mounted where, and also the color is infinitely adjustable. There are lots of blue I see on the left-hand row as we come to Murray's Bend for the final corner under pacing conditions. SCRS Ferrari Challenge from Mount Panorama, the second Pro-Am race of the night, final race of the evening, green flag in the air, and we're racing in the dark at Bathurst.
These drivers are really iffy about there's contact between Snyder and Lamb coming off of Hell Corner, but they're able to keep it clean and continue forward. Everything's clean so far. We'll see how they make out going through turn 2 here, as you just see just darkness behind them.
Drew Lidke looked up driver's left looked like Kyle Lamb was not able to complete that pass or even really get alongside. A bit of a checkup. Kurt Crum stuck right next to Mitch Welker as they head to the cutting. Track narrows up here and the grip becomes a premium as the car's crest rises over the next half a mile or so. Some drivers getting into the fence behind, but they will all stay straight for now as we head up through the hill. Contact, Kurt Crum, Mitch Welker get together. They slam the fence. Another Project 2 driver, I think that's Zach Buchanan into the wall. Colin Dahner's slow in the middle of the racetrack. Cars scatter as they head through the mountain. And for the lead, down through Skyline and into the Dipper, Brian Schabelsky now has Dornenberg right behind him as they head down the left-hander.
I saw a car spinning, headed towards Skyline, I believe. Not sure what happened there.
Steve Bunting, I believe, in the 83 is that car. And looks like he does not take anyone with him, so it'll just be him at the tail of the field for now. 1, 2, 3, all separated by 0.2 of a second as they come out of the final corner before Conrad. Straight throttle up, the Ferrari twin-turbo V8 spooling up and propelling these 3,000-pound cars up north of 170 miles an hour.
For the first time, this line of Ferraris comes down through the chase. See anybody tries to make any late passing attempts here. You don't have much time to make up many positions.
No, Mitch Welker had to look at his teammate, backed out of it, didn't want to put Buchanan in that sort of
position.
position.
Now off track. He's
Whoa!
Up in the air.
And as he's off the track, he got airborne and completely flipped upside down. I don't know what happened here. Gets up on the curb and just makes his own mistake, catches the tire barrier, goes up and over, and it was a single car incident somehow. As Sean Unterkuffler now, another Project 2 car, has Nicholas Morelli go by and Buchanan attacking as well. Here's Kurt Crum to join the party for 12th position. Crum will hang on for now. Buchanan attacking just up the road. Drew Lidke is on driver's left of Isaac Snyder. That's for 7th. He's been trying that pass for 2 laps, has not been able to complete it. And heading up to the cutting, look at Unterkuffler in the yellow car in the background, trying to get purchase alongside the 095.
Really hard area to try to set up or execute a pass on. As you see, it's basically single file, and you just have to do what you can to stay as close as possible to set up a run off of Forest Elbow and down Conrad straight and into the chase. And that's the game they're all playing now, is just get the most out of it as Unterkuffler gets into the wall a little bit. See that at Bathurst all the time. It's such a hard, fine line to drive.
It got in the fence just a touch. There's Kurt Crum in behind as they head through the trees here at Bathurst. Down the hill again, line to stern. This is all a battle for about 10th spot. Morelli is the one in 10th at the moment. He's got a few drivers in front he'd like to capitalize on and take positions from. Unterkuffler offline. Kurt Crum going to size him up for the Conrad Straight.
Yeah, Unterkuffler looked like he really struggled getting through that section of the course. He was a little bit offline, not at all where you want it to be, but it's this battle between Andrew Mickey and Dominic Dornenberg. Andrew trying to take that second position away. Is he going to try to make the move on the outside, and can Dornenberg hold him off?
Dornenberg deep on the brakes into the chase, climbs the curb. Mickey with an amazing move to the left. Dornenberg's going to try to crowd him on the exit. Mickey goes for the curb, remains on overlap as they head to Murray's corner. Deep on the brakes goes the number 86 Bombshell Racing Team car. Mirror to mirror, the 86 is through. Can Dornenberg cross him up? Not quite. Mickey to second place.
You could almost see them playing chicken on the brakes there. That was an amazing, really good racing move from Andrew back there. But Dornenberg tries to come back on the inside going into Hell Corner. But it looks like Andrew's going to be able to hold it off from that line. He should have the advantage down this next straightaway and into turn 2. He's got his sights set on Brian Sabalski.
Some bumper cars going on in the background, a couple cars banging fenders. They'll keep going straight, but Dornenberg and Mickey continue to battle for second down Mountain Straight. Heading to Griffin's Bend, side by side for a moment. Mickey crowds Dornenberg just a touch on the left-hand side of the racetrack, but now they're nose to tail as they head up to the cutting.
How quickly can Andrews put his focus ahead on Sabelski and start trying to reel him in versus how much he's going to have to worry about holding off Dornenberg from behind. He's got too wide through this very narrow part of the racetrack. Who's going to give between Johansson and, is that Lidke?
It is Lidke, yeah. Nicholas Morelli now all over the back of the green car. Heading to McPhillamy Park. Morelli's going to get a good run here, but where do you go? It's hard to make it past anywhere on the mountain, but he had a good run. Look at the run he's got built now, but he might just have to tuck in behind. Going to look up the inside. Lidke doesn't give it to him. He charges down the hill. Can he get the car slowed? Yes, he does. Nice job by Lidke. Good defensive driving, but a mistake there. Misses the apex. Now Morelli all over the back. He's going to have to wait till the chase to make a move, though.
Yeah, Lidke seems like he's struggling a little bit on the exit of these corners, and that's where he's kind of getting under attack. But he's all over Morelli, but that looks like he's going to hold him up and allow an attempt on him from Morelli behind him.
Drag race down Conrad Straight now. The lead is 3/10 apart. Mickey closing in on Chabelski. Now it's 2/10 for the top spot. Let's take you there now as they head to the chase. Mickey deep on the brakes. And he's going to have the spot if he can clear Chabelski. Not quite. Side by side through the final two corners. 5 to go next time by.
He does. He clears him off of that little right-hander. Chabelski looking like he's up to his old tricks of just playing it safe and collecting points for the SAM championship. As Andrew goes to the lead, I know his nerves are shot. He's probably shaking already, knowing that he's got to hold off Chabelski and the rest of this field for the next 5 laps.
Some passes for position there on the inside of Mo Islam as Kyle Lamy gets into him. Isaac Snyder's going to capitalize on that. Going to make a run to the left. Johansson on the rear view mirror of the 333. He's going to pop out of line. They're going to drag race down Mountain Straight up over the crest. So many cars under a blanket here at Bathurst.
You try to make one move, and if it doesn't work out, you're under attack from behind. That's how close this competition is here in the SCRS Ferrari Challenge. As Snyder makes a move through turn 2.
Oh, he's got him almost. He runs him out over the edge of the curb. He's through. What a move by Snyder to hang on to that spot. And Johansson still breathing down his neck in the mirror. Morelli up to the tailpipes. He has pressure from Drew Lidke from behind for 10th. Hunter Kuffler also has Kurt Crum. Crum, big moment there. Traction control maybe not quite enough. Buchanan now following, smelling blood in the water with the 87's checkup.
Buchanan only been able to make it up to 13th from the 18th starting position, so you can see just how difficult it is to make any ground here at Bathurst. I think we're definitely going to see a new winner on the season, as we see the front half of the field is just full of drivers who have not been able to pull off a victory in these Pro-Am races, and I think we're going to see a new winner here tonight, because these drivers that were part of the invert and started towards the back just have not been able to make up any ground.
Colin Daner, whoop, there's someone tumbling. That's Harry Grindell, I think, in the number 70. He's gone for quite the ride. Let's go back and see how it started. I think Colin Daner was the first one. Loose coming through McPhillamy Park, gets into the gravel trap. There's contact from Murphy Nichols. Turns up and over the 78 car. Then Harry Grindell's going to drive in here and have nowhere to go. Ramps up off the nose, goes for a tumble. Bryce Calusa, Carter Kundinger side by side at 170, heading to the chase. Move Calusa up to 14th.
Action for this entire race so far.
Johansson out of line here on Snyder. Going to take a swipe at him. Morelli's going to use that opportunity to jump on Johansson. This is for 8th. Late on the brakes. Oh, they're going to touch. Through Hell corner, a little bit of contact there. More contact on corner exit. Johansson wants to go back by Morelli. Mirror to mirror as we ride on board Drew Lidke. He'll follow them down to Griffin's Bend.
Side by side, there's a couple of battles going on. Kurt Crum behind Unterkuffler and Lidke.
Oh, that's tight going through turn number 2. Offline is Johansson. He'll have to get in behind Morelli for the run up through the cutting. Now Drew Lidke under attack from, looks like Kurt Crum. Crumb's through, slips a little bit. Now Buchanan took a look up the inside, going up the hill. Couldn't quite fit the nose in before the door shut. Eric Brown running inside the top 5. He's 4th right now. Mo Islam in 5th. Kyle Lamb, the Australian native, in 6th. Up over the crest through McPhillamy Park. Climbed the curb there. A little bit of damage there. Now down the downhill. Next time by will be 3 laps to go. Battles all over the racetrack. Single file running there. Snyder sees a hole. Actually, excuse me, that's Lamb on Mo Islam.
Islam got a little bit unsettled off of one of these corners, and Lamb had an opportunity to maybe make a pass there, but not an easy place to make it happen. But here's Brown with a run on, I believe that's going to be Dornenberg.
It is Dornenberg in the number 913. Going to make a juke to the right here in the chase. 168 miles an hour. He's going to look out to the left. Dornenberg doesn't fall for it. Closes the door momentarily, then moves back to the right to get on line. This is a battle for a podium spot. Dornenberg has it. Brown wants it.
Not looking anything up front as Andrew's been able to open up a gap of over a second over Sadowski.
Brown just chucked it down the inside, grabbed the spot away from Dornenberg. He's going to juke back to the left for third again. Door to door down the front stretch. But look at this, 3 wide behind him. That's dicey. That's Snyder up the inside. He's got it behind him, some trouble. Kyle Lamb gets turned in hell corner. He goes around for a loop and he gets stuck. He'll have to wait.
Lamb got turned by Morelli, it looked like.
For third place, Dornenberg has it. Brown wants by again. He had him for a moment. The crossover worked for Dornenberg. He got the position back. Now Brown looks up the inside for turn 2. Can't break quite late enough to make that move a reality. Here is Bryce Calusa and Zach Buchanan through turn number 2. Carter Kundinger watching from behind.
So hard to go through here side by side. Buchanan really needs to make sure that he does not allow anything bad to happen here. He's not having the result he would have wanted in race 2 tonight, but he's already got a race 1 win. He's got to make sure that he comes out of this with as good a finish as he can. Right now he's running 12th place. If he can get up into the top 10, that'll be
trouble
huge for him.
Mo Islam, he's around at the top of the hill. He's going to pull off the racetrack. Trouble for the driver that was running in 5th. Here's a look at it. Got into the fence and slammed the wall, very similar to a wreck we saw earlier in the night. Rolled that thing over, pulls off the racetrack. Mo Islam will be done for the night. Meanwhile, checking back in on Jake Johansson and Nicholas Morelli. 5/10 between them. Now Unterkupfler chasing down from 8th. He's offline heading into Forest Elbow. Kurt Crum going to size him up for the run down Conrad.
Kurt trying to do everything he can to get as close to that he can make an attempt. He seems to have a pretty good momentum right now, halfway down the Conrad Straight. We'll see if he's able to pull out to the right. Looks like he's going to do it before they even get to the kink.
He's got in the position, the overlap for now. He's through. Can he manage to hang on to it? No. Unterkupfler is going to back out, and that will let Crum hang on. Buchanan, he's door to door with Bryce Calusa. And they're going to continue this battle to the final corner. 2 laps to go for the race leaders. Eric Brown slow. He'll lose a spot to Isaac Snyder. Buchanan on Calusa. This is for 11th.
Snyder just making some really aggressive moves, carving his way towards the front. Looking like a good result for the Bombshell team tonight if they've got their 3 drivers in the top 8 positions, if they can all hold where they are. And one of them is in the lead with Andrew Mickey.
There's Kundinger following Calusa and Buchanan. They've been racing nice and cleanly and fair so far. Now Buchanan tucks back in behind the 11th place Ferrari of Calusa just to grab some slipstream. Carter Kundinger gets the advantage from both cars. Now the run to turn number 2. They're side by side up the road.
Brown gets turned.
There he goes. No, Kurt Crum's going to get turned around as well. Right in front of the pack. He's going to have to wait there for an opportunity to turn back around. This is going to be disastrous for Crum's opportunities. Meanwhile, Buchanan tried to jump on it. He's going to get passed by Drew Lidke as he tries to come up the inside. Now Carter Kundinger going to take that opportunity as well.
A lot of incidents to have to go back and take a look at. A lot of drivers not going to be happy with some of the things that have happened here tonight. But at the end of the day, this has been just a hard racing all the way through this second race here, with the invert really playing a role in one car around. I believe it was an AOD car.
Yes, it's Carter Kundinger in the 0-2. He's found the wall at the top of Skyline. That's been the trouble spot here tonight. And a disappointing finish to this race as we have only 1 lap to go. Buchanan sizing up Drew Lidke. He wants 9th. And a chance to go by and try to grab 8th now from Bryce Calusa. 0.8 of a second between Andrew Mickey and Brian Chabelski. All Mickey has to do is run 1 more lap trouble-free. That's easier said than done here, especially at Bathurst.
Going back and look at the Kundinger incident. He just got looks like the wrong landing coming off of the curbing through that fast left-hander and just loses control and causes himself to wreck.
Buchanan on Lidke. This is the tightest battle on the racetrack right now. 4/10, going to be 3/10 in the braking zone. Buchanan's been so good here. White flag in the air one more time around for Mickey. Big jump there for Zach Buchanan, trying to make up some ground. Now Brown and Kundinger nose to tail. And Kundinger trying to ease the bleeding on the wound here from the crash he had at Skyline.
And at the front, Zabelski has closed that gap to Andrew. He's now just over half a second behind him. Not sure if that's just general pace or if Andrew's maybe taking it a little bit easier to make sure that he gets home unscathed. But we'll see what happens if Zabelski is able to potentially close up that gap even further on this final lap.
Ryan Plord around in Hell Corner. Didn't see what happened to him, but can only surmise it might have been car-to-car contact. Mickey nose to tail with Shabalski. Shabalski is closing the gap. I'm just not sure if it's enough. It's going to need a pretty major mistake by Mickey to throw this race in the other direction. Through McPhillamy Park for the final time tonight at Bathurst. It's been a long time since an Andrew Mickey victory. Is it back all the way to Watkins Glen a couple years ago?
That's the only one I can think of.
Wow.
I think that was him and Lidke, if I remember correctly.
I think it was him and Christian Ost, if I recall correctly.
Him and Ost, yep.
It was a drag race to the line, but tonight it might be a more decisive victory. Down the hill, picking the left front tire up over the dipper one more time. Look at Unterkuffler and Kalusa now nose to tail as they head down the hill for the final time.
Buchanan able to get himself into 10th place in this second race. Big points coming his way after this round is concluded here tonight without James Walker in the field, as we mentioned before the race has started.
For Andrew Mickey, it's been over a calendar year, probably over 2 calendar years since we've seen him in victory lane. I think it might have been season 2 or season 3 of Scars on Sim TV. It's been a long time since he's been to victory lane. This win is going to be far more decisive than the one he had at Watkins Glen a few seasons ago. Andrew Mickey and the Bombshell Racing Team number 86 started in second. The checkered flag this time will belong to a Bombshell car, and it's going to be for the 86 of Andrew Mickey through the final corner. He gets it done at Bathurst. Behind him for second, Shabalski grabs that position. Dornenberg rounds out the rest of the podium. Fourth, Isaac Snyder. Now Morelli and Johansson to the line. Fifth and sixth, Unterkuffler, Kalusa. More battles. Anthony Montello, a quiet night, sneaking up into 13th after starting in 19th. Drag race to the line with, looks like Ryan Plord. 13th for Montello, 14th, no, that's Sohn. Plord will finish 15th after winning the AM race earlier tonight. Well, that was a wild one.
Yeah, it really was. That was action-packed from the opening seconds of this race all the way through to the checkered flag. A lot of incidents, a lot of hurt feelings, most likely. Probably going to be a lot of chat going on in our league Discord here for the next hour or so. But one thing you can't take away is that Zachary Buchanan put on an absolute clinic in Pro-Am Race 1 tonight, and Andrew Mickey made some great moves to get himself from running third place after the opening corner of the race to getting back up into the lead and taking home a decisive win in Race 2.
With that said, we're going to step away for just a moment. We'll be back for interviews with a couple of our winners from the night. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay put. Welcome back live to Sim TV. We're here now with our race 1 winner in Pro-Am, Zach Buchanan. Got it done in race 1, 10th in race number 2. Maybe not quite as high as you were hoping in that second race, but still a good climb regardless. It was tricky to pass tonight. Tell me about the first race of the evening, the battles you didn't really have because you held everybody off, and then tell us about the final race of the evening, charging your way to the front.
Yeah, it was a good night. It was better than last week. That's for sure. Race 1 was pretty uneventful, other than a couple wall taps I had. Race 2 was where it was really interesting, though. I damaged my car pretty early. My fault this time, unfortunately, and I'm surprised I even got a top 10 out of that. But yeah, it was good racing with Bryce, Sean, Kurt, and Carter. It was really close.
This racetrack tonight seemed like it was a little bit tricky to pass, but we did see some moves being made in some interesting places. We saw you running side by side, going up and down the hill at points tonight. How tricky is that, and how much trust is required between drivers to make that work?
I'd say a lot. Like in the first lap, just coming out of the cutting, Mitch had the same problem too. If you're too wide through there and the inside driver takes the curb, that can end really badly. And that's how Mitch got taken out of this race, I believe, with Kurt, and I did the same thing at the exact same time with him, with I believe Bryce. So yeah, there's lots of trust needed to pass on the mountain, and yeah, it was really hard to pass tonight.
Lots of trust needed to pass, but Zach Buchanan passed. Well, didn't have to pass anybody. Started on pole, won the first Pro-Am race, finishes 10th in Pro-Am race number 2. Zach, thanks for talking. We'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
Moving on now to Andrew Mickey. It's been a long time since we've seen Andrew Mickey in victory lane here in SCRS Ferrari Challenge. And the last time he won, at least to my knowledge, was at Watkins Glen a couple seasons ago with Christian Oates drag race into the line. A more decisive victory this time out, Andrew, passing Brian Chabelski deep on the brakes. Got it done. How does that feel to come and get a win after so long?
It feels real good. Yeah, it's one of the best tracks for me to come out and show how at least my little bit of talent that I have, and glad it wasn't for nothing.
Well, this season, or I should say this race in particular, has been pretty tricky to pass because of how competitive the field has been. You had to switch back and forth with Brian Chabelski a couple times to complete that pass. Did you find yourself having to kind of dive in over your head a little bit to get passes done, or was it pretty easy to get alongside and then kind of duke it out for the win?
It was pretty easy. I didn't feel like I had to change up my braking to get by, but it was a hell of a battle. I didn't think I was going to get by Dominic without us touching, but that worked out, so I had a little bit more confidence getting by Brian.
Well, a hell of a battle and a hell of a win, Andrew. Congratulations. Enjoy that one. It was well fought, well earned. We'll see you next week.
I wasn't going to embarrass myself with donuts or anything, so...
Oh, a job well done, Andrew. Congratulations. Enjoy it. We'll see you next time. All right, that's going to wrap up things here tonight on Sim TV. What a drive for Andrew Mickey, finally getting a victory after quite some time without. Right now it is pitch black. That is iRacing underneath that somewhere. There is your results one final time. Andrew Mickey, Chabelski, Dornenberg, your podium. How about Dominic Dornenberg? Started off things a little bit messy tonight, but managed to come on back for a top 3 and a podium position in that final race of the night. Good job there for the AOD driver. The rest of the field, there was some pushing and shoving here and there, but we had all but 4 drivers finish on the lead lap. So whether it's a success or not, Eric, I think not too bad of a race. We've seen worse at Bathurst.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of discussion to be had between a lot of these drivers for certain incidents. But at the end of the day, when you put 27 cars on Bathurst, you're bound to get some disagreements on what was necessary and what was not. And contact's bound to happen, so they'll all just have to try to move on, put in their protest, let the admins deal with it the way that it's dealt with, and turn their attention on to next week, which I can't for the life of me figure out where that is.
I will tell you in just a second. I don't also have it pulled up. We actually have next week off because it is Thanksgiving, so I encourage everybody that is sitting down and having a meal to be safe and keep themselves out of trouble. Make sure that you're not doing the whole large gathering situation. That's not good. Then we'll be in a pandemic for longer, so that's not any fun. Coming up next on the schedule in SCRS Ferrari Challenge, it's going to be a couple weeks from now. We're going to head to Suzuka East on December the 3rd, and then Road America, the National Park of Speed, will end things at Sebring on December 17th. So that's what's coming up next. Suzuka East in 2 weeks' time. Enjoy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time here on SimTV.